Good afternoon, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's enjoying life, living life, loving life, having a good day. Wanted to get on and talk to everybody today about the birth certificate and what it means in regards to your bank accounts and stuff. But I'm going to wait until a few people get on and before we get started. So feel free to say hi and chit chat or whatever, but we're going to wait a couple minutes here. I think this one's important, so we're going to wait a few and see if we can't get some people on. How's everybody doing? Steve, Earl, Michelle, John, everybody. We're going to talk today about the bank accounts, because everybody should know the bank account originates from your birth certificate. And so we're going to talk about that, see if we can't help people figure this out. And I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Looks like we got some people up here. So basically, everybody's familiar with a bank account. I'm sure everybody's had a bank account sometime in their life. If not, they have one now, or even a couple bank accounts. And basically, when we're talking about the birth certificate, the birth certificate is a land conveyance. And what it is when you get down at the hospital being born, they do a conveyance. And I've explained this a couple times now. They take that hospital statement of birth and they certify it. Once it's certified, that means it's an instrument and it can then be negotiated. And what they do with that is they deposit that into a public charitable trust account. And that public charitable trust account is the bank account of the United States. Okay? And what they've done is they've conveyed your inheritance or your hereditary proceeds, I could call them, into that account, and that is what's called a fee-off. And they have agreed to be the trustee of that property. And that birth certificate is your account access. Okay? And then when we go out and we open up a bank account, that's a pass-through account. Everything to do with that birth certificate for the public charitable trust goes through that bank account. That's why they ask you for your Social Security number. Even as a minor, if you open up a bank account as a minor, usually it has to be done under a parent's as a co-account holder. In regards to the bank accounts that we're looking at today, again, like I said, they use that Social Security number, and that Social Security number is attached to the person. And just like that Social Security account, the birth certificate is a trust, and that's why there's a trustee. Okay, if it was just a regular contract, it'd just be between two people, and there wouldn't be any trustee. But since it's a trust, they have a trustee. Now that trustee, as part of the mechanism of protection, the system is designed to provide a foreign situs trust account. And that's what the Social Security account is. It is a pass-through account for the birth certificate. And then the bank account, which is your Social Security number, is the pass-through banking account. Okay? That's for your own use. The Social Security Foreign Situs Trust is actually part of the public charitable trust. And then when you open the bank account, that is again also part of the public charitable trust, because you're using a public person. So in order to separate yourself from that, at least this is what I've got from my information, is you do your birth certificate authentication along with your DBA, your UCC1 filing, your durable power of attorney and everything. And that's all part of what's known as a deed of reconveyance. It was just brought up to me here a little bit ago in a discussion with somebody else, that when we talk about correcting our status, it's not a matter of all kinds of steps. It's a matter of a reconveyance of the deed. That's what that is. And that reconveyance of the deed includes several parts. It's like a book that has several chapters. So you have to do each part of that reconveyance of the deed. Because that's what happened when they did the birth certificate, is they conveyed the deed from the mother without the father's knowledge. In any marital situation, whether it be a companionship situation or an actual licensed marriage through the state, the hereditaments belong to the father, but the mother is a co-partner, so she has rights to sign things over as well. And so when you're born in the hospital, that's what she does. She's, whether knowingly or not, that's exactly what happens. And they transfer the deed to the United States, and the United States now is going to act as trustee. And then part of the fraud that we're dealing with today in this public charitable trust account is that when they bring that person into court, they're bringing you into court as well, and they're saying that you're that person. And then as that man in the courtroom, the judge turns around and makes you the trustee. And that's the fraud of it. So when we go into court, we have to explain that we are the ones that hold the hereditament. We are the ones that have the beneficial right, the right of beneficiary, and that they are the trustee. And we have to clarify that. Once that's clarified on and for the record, they can't rebut that, because in fact, that's exactly what it is. Getting back to these bank accounts now, in order to separate, we do that deed of reconveyance, and in the process of that, another part of that deed of reconveyance, in order to keep that person from affecting you in the courtrooms, as part of the public charitable trust, we establish our own private trust, and we drop that sucker right in that private trust. Now, in doing so, we have to create our own corporate artificial person to replace him, so that we can continue conducting our commercial affairs. But now, instead of doing that privately, or doing that publicly through the public charitable trust, we can do that privately. Now, my take on it, from the information I've gathered over the last few years, is that when we establish this corporate artificial person, there are different categories we can assign as doing business as. Now, doing business as a bank, your own self provides for a pass-through account on the private side that you administer, and not somebody else being a trustee of. You're going to administer it, because as a bank, you can operate as a trust company, managing your own trust affairs. As a bank operating as a trust company, you can manage the affairs, the trust affairs of other people. You can essentially act as a pass-through for other people. Do you people understand that? I hope so, because it's very important to understand the difference between public and private. When you're talking about public, you can go down to your local elementary school system 30 years after you graduated and still find your records. Whereas and believe you me, anybody can find those records. It's public information. Whereas if you develop your own private, corporate artificial persons, and keep all of your documents private as a private membership association, this is why it's important that your private membership association guidelines are constructed out of your international labor union laws. That's international law. Okay? So when you're operating as a private member association, conducting the business of a bank who can operate as a trust company, you can now, just like any judge, administer to the affairs of a trust as long as it relates to you. Now, the word relates means relative. And most people, when they think of relative, they think about a brother, a sister, a cousin, a mother, a father, a daughter, a son. No. Private membership association. Whatever is relative to the private membership association. So, I can conduct the affairs of a trust for anybody that is part of the private member association. I can't do it for somebody that has a public bank account and try to do it through their public bank, but I can certainly make them a member of my private association and open up an account through my bank and use it as a pass-through account conducting the affairs of that trust, as long as I know how to administrate that trust. And that's basic simples of connecting the dots between the birth certificate and your bank account. Everybody's got these public bank accounts. Everybody's going to the public education system. Everybody's going to these public hospitals, public medical facilities, public tax agents. And you're putting all your information out there public and glad to sign it. Because that's all you got to do is put a little signature down. And then everybody else takes care of your affairs. I assure you people, I've been I dropped out of the commercial realm here about 3 years ago. And when I say dropped out, of course, most people get the idea that I don't spend any kind of money or anything like that, and that's wrong. There's people that hand me a credit card to run up to the store and grab some food or something, and I'll do that. That's no problem. But not once have I signed my name to anything without reserving it, without retaining my rights grammatically in one way or another, or expressing my retention of my rights, that I'm acting or that I'm behaving as a man and not acting as a person. So remember this stuff, people. The bank accounts that you have are public accounts. They're known as pass-through accounts, and that's one of the main things that they use as a thoroughfare to establish connection through your account, through your birth certificate account. And like I said, if you do your authentication, your DBA and durable power of attorney and the UCC lien on that, that's part of your deed of reconveyance, because the property, when you were born, the property was conveyed to the trusteeship of the United States, because they look at everybody as being incompetent, and it's established fact of law that minors are incompetent to perform contracts. And here we are at a day and age where my folks are 70 years old, and as far as I'm concerned, they're incompetent, because they've duly handed over their affairs to everybody else and let everybody else tell them how to live their lives. And granted, they live a nice life. They have everything they want. They have everything they want. But it's still a fraud. And it still feeds off of other people. It feeds off of other people's labor. So think about this stuff and try to educate yourself in connecting these dots. When we talk about that birth certificate, it's a bank account. It's an account. It's part of the public charitable trust account. And it all has to do with banking. And so when we get to the banking part, we have to realize we can become bankers. And as bankers that port our own instruments through a private medical or a private member association, we also become what else? Postmaster and judge. And what does a judge do? He administrates. So now we're administrating and we're porting our own documents. You understand that? We're porting our own documents. We're porting documents. If we've got other people that we're administrating the trust for, then we're going to be porting their documents as well. We're going to be transferring jurisdictions from private to public, or from private entity to private entity. So think about this stuff, people. I hope this is a brief enough explanation to help you guys sort it out and get you on the road to doing your paperwork and getting this done, whether you're going to be using that public person and continuing that fraud, or developing your own private corporate artificial person and continuing in the fraud in that, however you want to do it. But that's the way. If you want to be comfortable in life and live like my parents do and use a monetary system and base everything you live off of on profiting and poverty. That was a discussion I'm involved in currently, trying to get somebody to try to define poverty for me. I'm not going to do it. Nobody's going to be able to come up with a definitive claim of what exactly poverty is. Poverty is fiction. Just like if you saw my video earlier this year, in I think it was June of this year, I posted a video about home as opposed to homeless. There's no such thing as being homeless. It's a fiction. Just like poverty, it's a fiction. So think about this stuff, people, and I hope this helps out. Pass this information along. I think it's important that people realize you are the bank, you are the judge, you are the postmaster. And all you got to do is step up into that role. So I hope this helps you figure out how to do that. Because right now, the United States is playing the part of all: the trustee, the banker, the judge, and the post office, or postman, postmaster. He is the master of your post. So think about this stuff. And no, you don't. Who said that? Who said I know homeless people? Let me give you a brief explanation about homeless. God said, or it said that God gave man dominion over the land, air, and water. He gave no borders, and he did not say that you had to live in this cave or that cave, or you had to have this box over your head. Home is everywhere you go. Home is right here. Now there might be times where you don't have a shelter over your head, but everywhere you go is home. Difference between home and shelter. They may be shelterless, but they're not homeless. Anyway, if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. Love you. Have a great day.